to grow.
Hey, welcome back, Chicago. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. And here on Get Down to Business, we know a thing or two about human capital management, but there is one person that knows, I guess, a little bit more than some of our listeners, and that is Donna Paul, the Managing Director of Human Capital Management at BDO. Donna, you've written quite a bit, and you've advised many, many clients on the human capital management life cycle. And we're thrilled to have you here on Get Down to Business. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you, Shalom. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So we know that when you're starting a business, it doesn't sort of end after you file the articles of incorporation and you open a bank account. Suddenly, everybody hopes to get to that point that they're able to be an employer, that they're able to bring people on to their team. And together with that comes a lot of challenges. So, Donna, I'm curious to talk to you so our listeners can hear a little bit about some of those challenges that companies are facing with, and maybe share a few tips on how they can do it better. So let's start right in the beginning, recruitment. Donna, you talked to a lot of business owners that are asking you for advice. What tips do you have on the recruitment side, and what are the areas that you're advising your clients on?
Well, I think the most important thing is to know who you are as an organization. What is our culture? What do we stand for? What do we believe in? What are our philosophies? And then you want to staff your organizations with people that fit that culture. You know, why do our clients hire us instead of the competition? What is our competitive advantage? What are the types of people that they like to work with? So those are the people that we want to hire.
And Donna, you know, it's interesting. A lot of people think that the first step of recruitment is looking at the resumes. But I think, again, Donna Paul, the Managing Director of Human Capital Management at BDO, sharing an interesting point that the first step actually begins right at home in figuring out who are you as a company.
Exactly. And, when I consult with companies, a lot of times when I ask leaders, tell me about what your philosophy is in terms of who you are as an organization, because that's going to drive everything. That's going to drive the type of people you bring in, the type of policies you have. Sure, you want to maintain legal compliance, but it's with a view towards making sure that you're complying with your own personality, if you will. What is our culture? What type of people do we want to attract? How do we get them to want to come to work for us? And how do we get them to want to stay with us?
Absolutely fascinating. And then I know that the next step is hopefully you find the right people. And obviously you want to develop your people. You want to train your staff to make sure that they are meeting the demands of the job. So let's talk a little bit about that area. What advice do you have for our listeners?
Well, the very first thing is, and I know that some of the people you've interviewed in the past have talked about this, making sure that you know when you're doing a job description, what are you looking for? What is it actually you want these people to be able to do? How do you determine if the people can do that? You want to hire self-motivated people, and then you want to keep them motivated. So it's really about making sure you bring them in, and how do we onboard them? How do we get them as productive as possible, as quickly as possible? And so it's really all about your onboarding program. What's important to train them in? How do you cross-train people? How do you get them to understand how your organization is structured? Who your clients are, what your clients value, how to align what they're doing with the organization's mission, values, and strategies, and then making sure that everything you do, the life cycle of the employee, from the time they walk in the door, and that includes things like training and development. How do we get them engaged in their work? How do we lead them? I mean, employees really want three things. They want good bosses, they want career paths, and they want recognition. And, start out with good bosses. How many, you've heard of many times people join companies, they quit bosses. You can work for the best company in the world. You can have great compensation, great benefits, a great physical working environment. But if you don't have a good relationship with your boss, that's really going to define how engaged you are and how happy you are with your job.
And that goes, Donna, for both obviously new hires, but every company should be looking to develop, and develop is the buzzword, but develop people into promotions and management roles. And there is a process, and I know that your team focuses quite a bit on the training and the development, then the performance management, and then finally the various areas of career management and rewards and recognition. And that's something the process that the BDO Human Capital Management team calls the Human Capital Management Life Cycle, which is really important. So Donna, tell us a little bit about the companies. We've got about a minute remaining. Tell us a little bit about the companies that you're primarily working with.
I focus mostly on small to mid-sized companies who really aren't at that point where they have a robust HR department. They really want that level of senior level executive HR support, but they're not at a level where they got to have an 360-day-a-year person at that level. But when they need that level of expertise, they can call upon us to do that.
Absolutely fascinating.
So that's what we do. We go in and we help them with HR strategy. We talk to them as business people, not as cops. Many times what happens with HR, and the reason why HR gets itself into trouble sometimes is because they're very quick to say, no, you can't do that, without taking a step back and saying, okay, let's figure out what it is you're trying to do and help you get there.
Well, that's why they need you, Donna Paul, the Managing Director of Human Capital Management at BDO. Donna, we've got so much more to talk to you about. I'd love to have you back on the program, but we are indeed out of time. I know folks can get a hold of you by email, dpaul@bdo.com, and I'm sure they could learn quite a bit more about the services of the Human Capital Management team at BDO. But thank you so much for joining us this evening on Get Down to Business.
Well, thanks for having me, Shalom.
Absolutely. Coming up after the break, more tips and advice.